Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka, and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastava, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi describes aggressive testing, marking local containment zones, and giving correct information to public as weapons against COVID-19. India's cumulative COVID-19 vaccination coverage exceeds 18 crore 57 lakh doses. European Union's drugs regulator says that Pfizer COVID vaccine can now be stored at fridge temperature for up to a month. UN, US and UK call for more protection for the civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants. As the number of COVID cases are on the rise, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, follow all the precautions, and all those who have taken the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine to get vaccinated with the second dose at the scheduled time. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that aggressive testing, marking local containment zones, and dissemination of complete and correct information to the public are the key weapons of the country in its fight against the pandemic. The Prime Minister interacted with field officials from various states and districts today to converse about their experience in handling the pandemic. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Modi asked the district officials to send their innovative ideas of tackling the pandemic to him so that the successful models can be replicated elsewhere in the country.
अब इसलिए अगर आपको कहीं लगता है कि सरकार द्वारा बनाई पॉलिसी में जिला स्तर पर किसी इनोवेशन की जरूरत है, उस इनोवेशन में से पॉलिसी को ताकत मिलेगी, तो मेरा आपको खुली छूट है, आप जरूर कीजिए। अगर ये इनोवेशन आपके जिले की स्थानीय जरूरतों के हिसाब से है, तो उसे उसी हिसाब में करिए। अगर आपको लगता है कि आपने जो इनोवेशन किया है वो पूरे प्रदेश के लिए या पूरे देश के लिए बेनिफिशियल है, तो उसे सरकार तक भी पहुंचाइए।
Terming the district officials as field commanders, Mr. Modi said they have ensured effective local containment strategies to mitigate the effect of the pandemic.
आपके जिले की सफलता बाकी जिलों के लिए एक उदाहरण बन सकती है, उनकी भी मदद कर सकती है। कोरोना से निपटने के लिए जो भी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, उनको भी हमें एडॉप्ट करते चलना है। आपके बहुत से साथी ऐसे जिलों में होंगे जहां कोरोना संक्रमण पीक पर पहुंचने के बाद अब कम हो रहा है। उनके अनुभवों से सीखकर आप अपने जिलों में अपनी रणनीति को और मजबूत करते रहेंगे तो कोरोना के खिलाफ लड़ाई और आसान होगी।
The Prime Minister said the work of field officers, which include building confidence among the frontline workers and also acting against hoarders of drugs and medical equipment, is crucial in the fight against the pandemic. Mr. Modi said that the country has undertaken the largest vaccination drive in the world. He asserted that proper usage of vaccines with minimal wastage will ensure effective and quick recovery of the nation from the pandemic.
कोरोना के टीके की सप्लाई को बहुत बड़े स्तर पर बढ़ाने के निरंतर प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं। वैक्सीनेशन के लेकर व्यवस्थाओं और प्रक्रियाओं को हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री लगातार स्ट्रीमलाइन कर रही है। कोशिश ये है कि अगले 15 दिन का शेड्यूल राज्यों को एडवांस में मिल जाए। इससे आपको भी पता रहेगा कि जिले में कितने लोगों के लिए वैक्सीन उपलब्ध होने जा रही है और आपको किस हिसाब से तैयारी करनी है। वैक्सीन वेस्टेज रोकने में जिला स्तर पर सही प्रबंधन की भूमिका के बारे में भी आप अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। आपके सहयोग से वैक्सीन वेस्टेज पूरी तरह रुक सकती है।
India has administered more than 18 crore 57 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the country so far. These include over 96 lakh 73,000 healthcare workers who have taken the first dose and more than 66 lakh 58,000 healthcare workers who have taken the second dose of the vaccine. As the third phase of vaccination drive is gaining momentum in the country, people are coming forward for vaccination. India is witnessing a declining trend in the number of active cases and fresh COVID-19 cases. However, several states and union territories are still registering a spike in the cases. Indian Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said that a record number of over 422,000 patients have recovered from COVID-19 within 24 hours. The recovery rate has further improved to 85.60% in the country. So far, over 2 crore 15 lakh patients have already recovered from this infectious disease. The Health Ministry has said the active cases comprise 13.29% of the cumulative positive cases. It said there are over 33 lakh 53,000 active cases in the country at present. The country has registered over 2,63,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry has said a total of 4,329 deaths have been reported in the country within 24 hours, taking the toll to over 2,78,000 across the country.
The European Union's drug regulator has said that the Pfizer COVID vaccine can now be stored at fridge temperature for up to a month. The current limit is just 5 days. The European Medicines Agency, EMA, said that once the vaccine's thawed, unopened vials could be kept in the fridge. The increased flexibility is expected to have a significant impact on the vaccine rollout across the EU. The need for transport and storage at very low temperatures has been one of the major disadvantages of the Pfizer jab. The previous storage requirements for Pfizer vaccines have made them harder to use in some parts of the world. In February, the United States approved storage and transport of the Pfizer vaccine at standard freezer temperatures of -15 to -25 degrees Celsius for up to 2 weeks, as opposed to between -80 to -60 degrees Celsius that it usually requires. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on WhatsApp new privacy policy and government's concern. In conversation with Jiten Kumar Jain, cyber expert, is Ruchika Chitranvanshi, journalist.
All of us listening to this show today are most likely the users of the popular messaging app WhatsApp. And if you have been using WhatsApp, you would have noticed a message pops up every time you open it these days that says a new privacy policy that you have to accept. Now, WhatsApp on Monday told the Delhi High Court that this controversial new privacy policy has not been deferred and that it came into effect from May 15th. And that the deadline for this policy for coming into effect has not been extended, but the accounts that are not complying with this updated policy won't be deleted immediately. Now, there are concerns from the side of the consumers as well as from the side of the government. Jitinji, can you tell us about what is this new policy and what are the concerns that government has towards this new policy?
If we were to look at what is the new difference which would happen after this new WhatsApp's policy is implemented, fundamentally, WhatsApp says that they are going to share the data of WhatsApp users with Facebook. Now, there has been a debate about what kind of data would be shared. For that, WhatsApp says it might be in the form of metadata, which is about like the phone number, device type, what time and the frequency of calls you make and all those things. And some people say that it is going to be a complete sharing of entire data except the chats of users for the purpose of precision advertisement, profiling of a person and then showing him specific ads. There are also provisions where the conversations between a person and a WhatsApp business account would be shared with Facebook. So that means suppose if you have booked an insurance policy where the insurance company has sent you a WhatsApp message, so Facebook would be in a position to collect that data from WhatsApp and sell your information to other insurance companies and tell them that you bought this policy for this much amount and they could accordingly approach you with better offers. Now, initially, this might look as a marketing ploy, but this has huge surveillance potential. It has potential of creating a monopolistic market, creating unfair opportunities, and most of all, the sharing of users' personal data without his express consent. In a way, WhatsApp said that, look, people are going to agree to this policy, but it was sort of a force upon policy where you were bulldozing users' personal opinion or his rights, and you were literally forcing them to adopt that policy, and that too in a market which is one of the biggest markets for WhatsApp. Now, second concern was that the policy what WhatsApp is rolling out is different in Europe, is different in US, and is different in India. European people were provided with better privacy safeguards. In India, they were like literally bulldozing and trying to collect every possible information because we have a vacuum here. We do not have a data privacy law yet in place. All we have are Supreme Court judgments. So second concern which was raised by the community or cybersecurity community was that you cannot treat India as a third world citizenry. Rights of all citizens or all WhatsApp users across the world have to be equal. What is not permissible or admissible or acceptable in Europe should not also be implemented in India. Now, there was huge protest, huge outcry in Indian market. Government of India wrote several advisories and warnings to WhatsApp. Owing to the pressure, WhatsApp had to delay their policy by 2-3 months. Now they have adopted a different technique. They are sending pop-ups 5 times a day, in a way tricking or forcing users to accept that policy. And those who don't accept, I think they will deal with that in the later time.
One of the things that Kapil Sibal said that they are trying to persuade the consumers, but if they don't accept, slowly these accounts will be deleted and there is no universal deadline for this. So as a consumer of WhatsApp, what does it mean for me? And what would you suggest to the consumers? What should they do? Should they sign up for this policy? Should they wait? What is going to happen to their accounts?
I think users who do not want to accept to this policy should not, and should any penal action or should any action like deterioration of service or blocking of service or deletion of user accounts sort of action is taken by WhatsApp, then users should approach the union government in the country or the courts, because this is like trying to force upon users that either you take it or leave it. This cannot be allowed in a situation where a private company has created a monopolistic market with almost around 40 crore users in India. That is not acceptable. And if it was acceptable, they should have implemented the same in Europe also. Now, second, I think all said and done, I think it's embarrassing for a country to see a former union IT minister who was instrumental in drafting IT Act, protecting the rights of individual users, today in his capacity as a lawyer is appearing from a company which is trying to bulldoze the right. Government of India in the same petition has said that WhatsApp's new policy is the violation of India's IT Act. And on the other side, it is a sorry situation to see India's former IT minister appearing for Facebook as their lawyer. I hope better sense prevails. I hope he withdraws. I hope government takes stringent action against WhatsApp in the form of issuing directions to stop this policy.
So Jitin, you mentioned that how they are taking advantage of this situation, that India does not have a data privacy policy in place. But we do have an Indian Information Technology Act of 2000, which you said that the government has also said this new policy is in violation of. Can you explain a bit as to what are the laws that we have and how WhatsApp is going against it by bringing in this new policy?
There are new guidelines which have come in place where, IT Act talks about data localization, and it also talks about the safety and security of data, which also in a way, it could be comprehended to mean that sharing or selling the user's data without his explicit consent would form a violation of any natural law. Now, you cannot exactly say that it is only you can have IT law to deal with this problem. What you need is a very stringent data privacy law, which is still in Parliament with a standing committee. You do have several Supreme Court judgments, both on the cases of privacy and on the cases of contracts where the star written small, bigger terms and conditions cannot do something which users otherwise would not have done. And third, I think, beyond laws and the legal provisions, every government in the world has a sovereign duty to protect the rights of a citizen. It has sovereign powers. I think to discharge that sovereign duty, a government of India can take action even if there are no definitive legal provisions. I think to protect the rights of almost 40 crore Indian users, government of India can exercise its sovereign power and stop this policy.
Besides this IT Act, we also have a body called the Competition Commission of India, which is looking at companies which may be abusing a monopolistic position. So can some action be taken on their behalf as well to stop them from doing something like this?
Of course, a company like Facebook comes up with social media network in India. Then they later came up with this packages of free basics of providing free internet services. Then you come up with this advertisements, and then you give priority to certain advertisements who pay you more. Then you manipulate such results to show advertisers or the results on the top which have paid you or which are favorable to you. Then you manipulate your position in the market to kill competition. For example, Facebook buying WhatsApp and then integrating WhatsApp with Facebook and then trying to create a situation where no other instant messenger is able to survive in the market. It is nothing but creation of monopoly or an attempt to create a monopoly and exploiting your market position. This was the same thing which was done by Microsoft, where they started delivering pre-bundle installed MS Office and Internet Explorers and Windows operating system. And competition commissions across the world in Europe, America decided that no, this is wrong. You only should deliver operating system and then let user decide which internet browser or which Office version, whether Star Office or MS Office, what they want to install. You cannot use your position as an operating system provider to exploit that position and then sell your own products. It is the same case with Facebook, that you cannot be allowed to create a market position and a monopoly, whereby using your dominance in the social media sector, you will try and create a monopoly in the instant messenger market. And once you've created that monopoly, you will exploit users' personal data. You will bulldoze their every privacy right. You will force upon new marketing policies, and you will not pay heed to any government advisory or any user feedback. You will act like a sovereign government trying to tell the world that we are bigger governments than the state governments in the world, and our policies are superior to the local domestic laws in place. I think this is a larger issue of how to deal with this text like WhatsApp. It is a problem with WhatsApp today. Tomorrow it will be something else with Twitter or Facebook.
Absolutely. What action can we take against this? Surely, so blatantly intrusive, the privacy policy, and there are serious concerns of privacy. What can government do? What is the position of Indian government now? What options do we have?
I think one remedy could be someone approaching, which has already been happening, and some directions coming from Competition Commission of India, and then they issuing certain directions to Facebook not to create this sort of monopolistic position. One avenue could be Competition Commission. Government could exercise sovereign power, but in the absence of a data privacy law, the emergency powers of government cannot be exercised every now and then. But I think then there is a third avenue which is available, which is the judicial forums of, the superior courts like High Court or Supreme Court of India, which in the absence of a definitive law can lay down guidelines or pass instructions or directions or, pass judgments, judicial orders. So right to privacy today is in the form of judicial pronouncement today by India, which has come from Supreme Court. We do not have a explicit right in the Constitution. I think what is happening in High Court, I think High Court is in a better position to settle this issue today. And I'm sure after listening to both sides, High Court would probably do something which has already happened in Germany last week, where German government has ruled that WhatsApp new policy is now blocked. Might be soon blocked across the Europe. I think so in India, in the absence of a law, I think judicial forums are the better place to deal with this problem.
So how do you see this whole situation panning out? What is your sense of it? Because you said that this is not just about WhatsApp now, this is about all the other social media platforms, etc. How do you see the situation evolving?
I think the ultimate solution is to promote your own indigenous platform. If Twitter is doing wrong, rather than criticizing them, also promote indigenous platform like Coup. If WhatsApp is trying to bulldoze your rights, then don't just shout. Make sure that you delete your account and shift to other apps like Signal. Or maybe just keep the WhatsApp account, just use it for normal purposes. For every other thing, use an open source platform like Signal. So I think moving away your bunch of data communication from these platforms will teach them a better business lesson, and I'm sure it will affect them. So I think almost around 25-30% of users in India switched from WhatsApp to Signal, and it did have a cascading effect, and WhatsApp had to extend their policy. I think more people shutting these platforms off and shifting to others would send the right signal.
There is also something in WhatsApp which distinguishes the policy for the business account and the individual account. Is that right?
Yes, WhatsApp is saying that every conversation or every message you exchange with a WhatsApp business account will be shared, will be recorded, will be shared with the business competitors, will be used for marketing, advertisements, and business intelligence.
So the privacy concerns, would you say, are more for business account than for individual account?
No, I think it is both ways. If you read that policy carefully, it is a jugglery of words. It does mention that we will collect this, and then there is a line that any other information, and what does the other include is not elaborated and nobody knows. It does not also express, does not rule out what will not be collected. So I think these policies are drafted by a lawyer who knows how to beautify words and create a jugglery where, meanings are different, contexts are different, and views are different. So I think in a way what we are looking at as what has happened with Instagram and Facebook, that what Facebook is attempting to integrate WhatsApp's and Facebook data, and sooner or later, if they have gone back on a word which they said 7 years ago that WhatsApp and Facebook will never be integrated, then they say that we will share minimal information just like phone number. Now they say that we want to share data also. So what they are saying today does not have any value, because 6 months later they may say that okay, now we were just collecting metadata, we are going to now also collect everything. So I think this is just the beginning of overall integration which has to be stopped.
Now, what is happening with the whole data privacy policy? Where is it stuck? And do you think that will lay some sort of a ground for us to stand upon for future such issues we may face?
I think we have a reasonably fair data privacy law which is being proposed at the parliament. It is with the standing committee. There are some objections. There are some suggestions of improvement. But what is happening is that specific law talks about data localization, penalties for data hacking or data leakage. So all big private companies, foreign companies especially, which are operating in India, do not want that law to be passed. So you would see that several forums across India have been now funded by these companies or their proxies. Seminars and conferences are being organized at how this policy is not good. So there is orchestrated, concentrated attempt to derail this policy by funding proxy fronts and create a narrative in India that this particular policy or law is not good. This is largely done by foreign funded organizations, like it happened with so many NGOs protesting out every development project in India. So I think we must be very, very careful that any country, any sane individual will know that data localization in a country is always good for that country, and everybody or anybody who is opposing data localization is playing to some lobby. So I think government is also now mindful of such lobbies, and they are accordingly dealing with them.
Even if it is localized, wherever the data is, the privacy has to be respected, whether it is by a WhatsApp or it is by the Indian government.
Yes, we are a big market. We are the largest growing smartphone population in the world. These companies have benefited a lot from Indian market. They have made a lot of money. They are welcome to do business here. We wish them more success, but not at the cost of the privacy or rights of our citizens. I think it should be a fair play. It should be fair business. It should not be manipulated business. You should serve the society and make your money, but you should not exploit the society. I think the similar approach which was echoed by our Honorable IT Minister in the Parliament, that these companies are welcome to do business in India, but not at the cost of right of Indian citizens, not at the cost of national security of India.
Thank you so much, Jitin, for joining us and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
The United Nations, US and UK have called for more protection for the civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants. The international concern was sparked after the footage of children being pulled from the rubble in Gaza and people running for shelter surfaced. The conflict is now in its second week with little sign of a ceasefire. More than 212 people, including 61 children, have died in Gaza and 10, including 2 children, in Israel. Israel says most of those killed in Gaza are militants and that any civilian deaths are unintentional. However, Hamas, the militant group that runs the territory, does not acknowledge this. Sirens were sounding again last night in Israel, with rockets incoming in the south and north, close to the Lebanese border. Israeli leaders have also again vowed to keep up their campaign. There is mounting international concern over the violence. In the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson's spokesman said Israel must avoid civilian casualties, but he expressed concern that Hamas is again using civilian infrastructure and populations as cover for its operations. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged both the sides to protect civilians, especially children, while reiterating that Israel is a democracy, has an extra burden to do so. The United Nations has also expressed concerns about the damage to infrastructure in the already impoverished Gaza Strip, which is home to 2 million people. The UN said that 40 schools and 4 hospitals had been completely or partially destroyed in the recent days. The World Health Organization's emergencies chief, Dr. Mike Ryan, said all attacks on healthcare needed to stop immediately. The European Union said it will redouble its efforts to end the surge in violence between the Israeli military and the Palestinian militants and seek progress during a special meeting of its foreign ministers on Tuesday. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has called for an end to the fighting while speaking to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to her spokesman, however, she reaffirmed Israel's right to defend itself against the attacks. France and Egypt too are among the other nations calling for an immediate ceasefire. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Welcome back to the World News. The very severe cyclonic storm Tauktae over Saurashtra region in Gujarat is likely to move north-northeastwards and weaken gradually into deep depression during the next few hours. Ahmedabad and adjoining areas received heavy rain along with stormy winds that uprooted hundreds of trees and poles and caused heavy waterlogging. 3 persons lost their lives in different incidents related to cyclonic storm. Meanwhile, rescue and relief operations in the cyclone-hit coastal districts of Saurashtra are running in full swing. At the domestic stock markets, key indices posted gains over 1% each today, while the rupee strengthened slightly against the US dollar. In the international markets, Brent crude oil futures traded above $69 a barrel. A report from the Business World.
Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange spurted 613 points, 1.2% to close above the 50,000 mark at 50,193. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange shot up 185 points, 1.2% to end at 15,108. In the international market, Brent crude gained 43 cents to trade at $69.89 a barrel. US crude futures rose 38 cents to $66.65 a barrel. Back home, gold rose 333 rupees to 47,833 rupees per 10 grams at Delhi's bullion market. Silver shot up 2,021 rupees to 73,122 rupees per kilogram. And at the foreign exchange market, the rupee gained 17 paise to 73 rupees and 5 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary for World News, All India Radio.
Moving on to sports. For the first time in Indian cricket history, the men's and women's cricket team will be travelling together in the same chartered flight to United Kingdom on June the 2nd. While Virat Kohli and boys will be flying to the UK for the World Test Championship from June the 18th, Mithali Raj and the women will be playing 1 Test, 3 ODIs and as many T20 internationals against England. BCCI has been meticulous in their preparations ahead of the key events. The Indian board arranged doorstep COVID-19 tests for all the players in the squad, including the standby players and their family members who will accompany them before joining BCCI's bio bubble in Mumbai. In other sports news, the Delhi court today declined to grant anticipatory bail to Sushil Kumar, India's double Olympic medalist in wrestling, in connection with a brawl at Chhatrasal Stadium, which led to the death of a young wrestler. Top seed Serena Williams of the US launched her Emilia Romagna Open campaign in Parma, Italy, with a 6-3, 6-2 win over Italian teenage debutante Lisa Pigato yesterday. Serena will play Czech Republic's Katerina Siniakova, a former world number 1 doubles player, in the second round of the clay court tournament.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Washington Post writes that Israeli airstrikes pound Gaza despite ceasefire calls. Washington Post writes that Japanese doctors call for Olympics cancellation amid COVID-19 surge. New York Times reports that lockdown ease in England for now at least. The Telegraph writes holidays to Europe with a vaccine passport. Khaleej Times reports Italy postpones night curfew, plans further reopening. The Guardian writes a new Chile political elite rejected in vote for Constitutional Assembly. New York Times reports Darwin's Arch, a famous rock formation in the remote Galapagos Islands, collapsed on Monday because of natural erosion. A quick look at the headlines once again. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi describes aggressive testing, marking local containment zones and giving correct information to public as weapons against COVID-19. India's cumulative COVID-19 vaccination coverage exceeds 18 crore 57 lakh doses. European Union's drug regulator says that Pfizer COVID vaccine can now be stored at fridge temperature for up to a month. UN, US and UK call for more protection for the civilians caught in intense violence between Israel and Palestinian militants. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Thailand.
Super
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.